Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Conflict Coach Show. I'm Dave Hilton, the Financial Conflict Coach. Now, I'm here today with Jeff Rose from Good Financial Sense. Now, Jeff is the author of the book, Soldier of Finance. He is a certified financial planner and the CEO and founder of Alliance Wealth Management, LLC. Jeff also served 9 years in the Army National Guard, including a tour in Iraq. His blog you can find online at goodfinancialsense.com. The website for his upcoming book is soldieroffinance.com, and his professional services website is jeffrosefinancial.com. On Twitter, you can also find him there at jjeffrose. Remember that extra J there, jjeffrose. Well, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I appreciate we've had some technical difficulties that I'll share with the audience, and you know how anything online works. We tried to do a video interview, but for some reason the service I usually use just was not working for me. So we've had to go here and use GoToMeeting, which I also use several of the interviews that I do. So Jeff, let me ask you about how your career has evolved. Because I know that you started out as a financial advisor, then you spent some time in Iraq, and then you came back and did that again, and then became a certified financial planner. So tell us a little bit more about the details of that story.
Sure. It actually all started with an internship between my junior and senior year of college. That internship turned to a part-time job, and at the time that was a firm called A.G. Edwards and Sons, based out of St. Louis, which is no longer around. They've been bought out twice over. Now they've become Wells Fargo. But I started with them, was working I think for about 3 years, got deployed to Iraq, as you mentioned, back in 2005. And it was really just finally hit that point in my career where things were really starting to take off, as I felt. And all of a sudden now you got to put that on hold for 16 months. Not to mention the fact you have a bit of an adjustment period coming back, when you've been in a wartime environment. So, I figured there's probably a year and a half, 2 years of just kind of readjusting, getting things back in order. But I did end up getting the Certified Financial Planning designation, just something that I felt that I needed to show people that I was serious about what I do about financial planning. And once we were bought out, it made me explore other options. And I ended up co-founding an investment firm with three other individuals back in 2007. And then here recently, I started my own wealth management firm, which is a registered investment advisor. And the only reason I did so is because I want to have more control on what I do online. I had a lot of limitations running my blog with a little thing called compliance, and just got fed up the point where I knew that my blog had a lot more potential if I was able to cut off some of those limitations. So that's why I did, and the rest is history.
So let's talk about becoming a certified financial planner. Why is that specific designation important to people who are looking for financial guidance?
I think it's important because I think people don't realize that in this industry, to become a quote-unquote financial advisor doesn't really mean much. I mean, it does and it doesn't, and let me explain. If you can pass a Series 7 license, or if you can pass an insurance license, a lot of times insurance agents refer to themselves as financial advisors. And, they could be good advisors, but they really haven't had a lot of the practical training, in my humble opinion, that a certified financial planner does. So to actually do the certified financial planning course, you cover everything when it comes to financial planning, whether it be investments, retirement planning, insurance, estate planning, and everything in between. And it's just a testament, in my feeling, that you do have a passion for the financial planning process and really getting to know that client and look at every single financial aspect of their life and then make your recommendations accordingly.
That's interesting, and the reason I wanted to ask you that is because the industry that I'm in, dispute resolution and conflict management, has the same issue, because to become a mediator, to be able to do that, most states require that you take only a 40-hour course, some sort of training program, and to become a financial or even a conflict coach, for that matter, doesn't take any specific training other than maybe you know how to coach something. So, that's why even in our industry we're having the same problem. So the fact that I went and got my master's degree in dispute resolution, to me, that's what says that, hey, I'm more than just the 40-hour trained person. And not saying that those people aren't valuable members of the industry, or even very, very successful or very knowledgeable about it, but to me it just meant that, I'm willing to put in nearly 1,000 hours to learn every little detail about it. So it's interesting that the financial world has the same problem. So what are the main differences between certified financial planners, financial advisors, financial coaches, and other similar services? Because everywhere you look online, everybody says that there's something.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I think the big fundamental difference on being a certified financial planner is, one, you have to have the minimum 3 years of work-related experience. So you actually have to have been working with clients for a minimum of 3 years. Then you actually have to go through the classes, and you can do those online. You can go to a lot of universities, offer them, however you want to do it. I personally was more of a crash course. Typically the program takes about 3 years, but I actually finished it within 12 months, and that just required had to leave town for about 4 or 5 days, go through extensive studying, and then more or less just force-feed myself all this information. Then at the end of that, you're delighted with a 2-day exam that is basically testing you on everything regarding the financial planning process. So,
now, were you married during that time?
I was. We just had our first child. Luckily, somewhere in the middle of it. So it definitely was. It was stressful at the time. I remember sitting at the dining room table and our little one just needing some attention, and luckily Mommy was there to help out. And I think now, actually, if I had the 3 children I have now, wow, I don't know, it'd be that much tougher to get through that.
I can't even imagine. You have to have a very understanding spouse to be able to pull something like that off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now, I noticed on your website that you say you don't take what I call the cookie cutter approach to your investments and portfolios for your clients. So what made you decide to create custom plans for each and every one of your clients?
I think a lot of it's just based on experience. I mean, you can have a 55-year-old that plans to retire in 5 years, and say you have 5 different 55-year-olds with that exact same intention, but they're all going to have different plans. They're all going to have different amounts saved. They're all going to have different risk tolerances. They're all going to have different just objectives, on what we're doing, and that's what makes financial planning such a intimate relationship, because it isn't a cookie cutter approach, and that's I've just kind of adopted that over time, realizing that when you start working with these clients.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think the other thing too is that having worked with the bigger firms and seeing how they build their portfolios, that from my opinion, they're not custom built. I mean, they are more or less template driven. And when I actually had a chance to kind of break those down and look at them on an individual basis, I've just been more and more unimpressed, with those. So that's really what we wanted to escape from whenever we left the big firms and went independent.
So do you think that just the industry as a whole, do you think it's due to complacency that they just try to label people where you're this age and so we'll put you in this group, or do you think it's just out of convenience?
Convenience. I think because how the financial industry works is, especially when you're working for these big firms, I mean, it's all about numbers. How many clients do you have, and not really how many clients, how much assets do you have under management, how much commissions or fees are you generating. So essentially they're trying to build platforms that make it easier for advisors to where, they do, I guess, do their job in getting to know the client, but then they just funnel them into some type of predetermined plan, and they don't do any of the investment management. They just outsource that to the research department, I guess, or that firm, which I'm not saying is a horrible thing, but like I said, I witnessed too many occasions where once you actually had a chance to break them down and you look at it like cherry pick them and say, hey, well, okay, these 10 investments are good, but what's going on with these other 3? Sometimes if you have a few bad seeds in the plan, I mean, that can make a world of difference.
Now, when you're talking about money, it is one of the most emotional and private things that people talk about. In fact, I was reading a recent study or survey that came out that said that people are more willing to admit that they've been divorced or they have those types of problems than they're willing to admit that they have financial problems. So as a certified financial planner, how often do you deal with situations where you find yourself helping clients deal with conflict in their personal or professional lives, and money just seems to be an umbrella issue? And what kind of issues are they facing when you deal with that?
I definitely have, and it just seems like it's a variety of things. I've made clients that will approach me with just different situations, and somehow it ties into money. But they just kind of need some guidance on, what direction to go. And just recently I had a client who, something to do with her ex-husband who is now recently deceased, that she has some land in their names, but he never paid the property tax, and now the state is coming on her, like filing a lien on her, and just this whole big mess, which, I'm not a legal expert by any means,
right.
But, she just felt she needed someone to kind of talk through it and just kind of give their opinion, and she trusts me as being her financial advisor, so she came to me.
So at that point, do you refer them to an attorney or an accountant or some specialist?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, do you keep a roster of people that you refer people to?
Yeah, there are a few. I will admit that whenever I first started in the business, I had referred out to an estate planning attorney that everyone in my office used, and I had not had any personal experience with them, but I trusted my coworkers at the time, and turns out this attorney charged a lot of money, and turns out a lot of the documents that he did weren't up to par, and had the client actually not taken the time to review them, never would have noticed it. And it really kind of woke my eyes up to where now I only work with folks that I actually have a personal experience with, that I've been able to test drive, interview, get to know on a personal level, and that's the only way I feel comfortable referring out now.
Yeah, because your reputation is at stake when you endorse someone like that.
Exactly.
Right. Now, let's say that I'm a new client, and I found you through the website, and so we've scheduled our time to meet and all that stuff, and one of the first things I say to you whenever I talk to you is that that I'm just frustrated, I'm angry with my current financial situation. If you had 3 things you had to tell me, what would you say to me?
So right now, you're angry at your current situation, and you are working with another advisor, or you're not?
No, I'm not. No, I have never worked. I always thought that I'm able to do this myself. I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, kind of thing. But I need some help with my financial situation. It's not going where I want it to go. What would you tell me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would tell you anything. I'd just start asking some questions, and first and foremost, what are you angered about? What are you most disappointed in? What's going on with your situation? I think we just have to start uncovering, what's going on and what's the root of the issue here. Then we just try to have some steps to work towards improving those things. I think it's all dependent on what you say. I'm a question guy. I mean, I'm going to ask you 20 questions before we even go down any direction. But I just start asking 20 questions and kind of go from there.
I know. I think that's an awesome answer because I think too many people do too much talking and not enough listening.
Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to finances. And, as someone who spent my entire career as someone who is paid to talk on the radio, it's been a very, very long lesson and a long journey for me to learn to, ask my question and then shut up. Literally, as you're talking, I have my hand over my mouth to keep me from talking. Because it's just something that I have to do whenever I'm not doing a video. It's something I have to do to keep from talking.
Yeah, I can relate.
And I didn't know if other people deal with the same kind of thing.
No, I've learned along the way that it's all oftentimes it's not about what you say, it's about what you don't say. But it's all about what you ask. And whenever you're working with a new client or just trying to help somebody out, I mean, you really cannot ask too many questions.
Now, I'm always interested to know how people deal with financial issues and conflicts in their own lives. So I'm going to ask you a very personal question. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But do you and your wife have arguments about finances?
We have definitely had some good discussions over the years. And, one of the big, I think, differences between her and I is that we both have a different safety net that we require. And my wife is very, she needs to see it, she needs to touch it, she needs to know it's there. And with me and doing all my businesses, the way that I operate is, I'm always looking out how it's going to be a year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So it doesn't matter about today. It's about what can I do today to make tomorrow better. And since we have that different personality, it's just a matter of having a better understanding of how we each tick. Because I might talk about doing something today. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it today, but it's something I'm probably going to work towards. Here not in the not too distant future. But we've just had to get a certain number. She has a certain number she needs to have in cash on hand. we've always had that number, and it's always gone up, as we've had kids, as we built our new house, as things have grown, and we just make sure not to, go below that.
Now, I noticed that the majority of personal finance websites out there, they talk about, which personality are you? Are you a spender or are you a saver? So are both of you savers, just in different ways?
We save and we spend. I ride that fine line of, yes, I know you need to save, but the same token, I know that there's a chance I won't be here tomorrow. So I don't want to be that person, that passes away and has, $20 million saved because I never did anything. Right. So there's just that fair balance of trying to figure out within yourself, what is that? And some people, it's hard to figure that out with most people. But, if I do spend, the reason I spend is because, I bust my butt, to earn the money to be able to live the way I want to.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I'll spend when I need to spend. I'll save when I need to save. My wife, on the other hand, she is a flat out-and-out spender. That's what she does. And she's the first one to admit that, too.
Yeah.
A lot of the reason why I decided to do my studies in dispute resolution was because early in our marriage, we had issues dealing with that, because not only did we have different conflict styles, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, if they ever share any of that kind of information in financial, any of the classes and training that you've done, but there are 5 different distinct conflict personalities. And when you're talking about, as I mentioned, something that's so emotional and personal as finances, if you have different conflict personality styles, it can cause some real knockout, drag-out kind of fights just about money.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about your time orientation. I'm gonna go all geeky, dispute resolution geeky on you. What you were talking about a minute ago about you and your wife is that she has more of a time preference, a time orientation in the present, whereas you seem to have one that's in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever actually sat down and really talked about that specific difference?
Yeah, we have. What helped me was I was able to take a personality test. Actually, we both did, called the Colby Index.
Okay.
Which has had a better understanding of how we're wired.
Yeah.
We were complete opposites on various things, but it just kind of helped us better understand, how we each take in information, how that type of information, how we react to it. Mm-hmm. And one thing that actually my CPA recommended, out of all people, he's also kind of been a counselor as well, that the next time that I have the next big idea, that we call it, instead of telling her about it, which that usually stresses her out, I actually created a file, just like a green file folder, that I jot down the idea and I place it in that file. And then once a quarter, I'll open that file up and take a look at it and say, hey, is that a good idea, or was that just totally, talking out whatever. So that's one thing that we've been able to do, to where I don't get her all stressed out because of my next big thing that I have brewing.
Well, I'm going to have to look up that particular personality profile test. I've never heard of that one. Have you ever heard of the Thomas Kilmann instrument?
I have not.
Well, that's something I may actually share with you. I may send that so that you and your wife can take that, where that is specific for your conflict personality.
Gotcha. Okay.
Depending on whether you're calm or whether you're upset, you actually can change your personality.
Gotcha.
Based on the situation. So I may share with it. I love sharing information like that. So I may send that to you and let you guys take that and see if you're different or the same. All right, now let's talk about your book, Soldier of Finance. I love that title. I have no idea where you would have come up with that title at all. But when did you decide to write your book?
I've been wanting to write a book for a while, and I started on that journey a few different times, and just, I felt like it was never the right time. Finally, between switching practices, having babies, and everything else, and finally had some time last year and got it done. And it just required me to make myself get out of the office, at least a half a day each week. I go to a local coffee shop and just bust it out. Otherwise, it never would have happened.
Now, with a title like that, did you write it specifically for people in the military, or is it just something for anybody interested in personal?
No, it's definitely, it does have a lot of military annotations, a lot of analogies from my own personal military background, but it's not made strictly for military members. It can be applied to anyone.
And how is it going to help people with their money and finances?
Just because I am a huge Dave Ramsey fan, and he's had a pretty good influence on me over my life. It has a lot of Dave Ramsey type feel. I guess the only difference I'd say is, think of Dave Ramsey, except he's a drill sergeant. He's a little bit more in your face about things. And but there are a few fundamental differences I have with Ramsey and his baby steps. But so I kind of share some of those differences, and also just tie a lot of personal experience I've had.
Now, do you have a release date for the book yet?
No, I've went back and forth. I had a major publisher that was interested. They recently dropped out. I do have a literary agent now that I just signed a contract with that we're shopping it around. I've toyed with the idea of going self-published, just because with the whole online community, I feel like I could market it pretty well. But I just have a lot of things going on right now, so it just made a lot more sense to see if we can shop it out and see if anybody else is interested.
Now, you do have a spot on that website there, thesoldieroffinance.com, where you can join the mailing list to get updates, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so yeah, just go to that, and I'll link to that down below as well there, so you can join the mailing list and learn firsthand when the book comes out. Now, something else that you do really, really well, Jeff, is getting other personal finance bloggers to write articles or produce videos about things that are important to you at that moment. Now, you've done it a couple of different times with some of your movements. Now, the first one you did was to promote Roth IRAs. And the second one, most recent one, was for the life insurance awareness. So how did you come up with the idea to do these types of movements and get other bloggers involved?
It was all trial and error. The whole Roth IRA movement was something that I just literally thought of on the way home after speaking to my local university. I was speaking to a class of college seniors that were literally months away from graduating. And, there's about 50 or 60 in the audience, and I just took a quick poll of, how many know what a Roth IRA is, and not a single one did. And I was just like, really? Like, you've never even heard of it? I'm not asking you to give me the, Webster's dictionary of what a Roth IRA is, but no one's ever even just mentioned it to you. And sure enough, like, no one had heard of it. And I'm like, okay, there has to be, we've got to change something. We've got to do something about this. So I just emailed a few of my blogging buddies about the idea just to see, like, does this just sound stupid or is it me? And they actually thought it was a really good idea. So I just started messaging a few other personal finance bloggers, and they just all liked the idea, and it just kind of just took off. And, we ended up having almost 150, I think, bloggers take part in that one. So once that one took place, like, I knew that we could do it again, and so that's where the life insurance movement, it just kind of made sense with September being Life Insurance Awareness Month to kick that off the late part of August with the life insurance movement.
Yeah,
But, this isn't the first, these aren't the only two that are going to happen. There will be more. I'm already working on the next one. So
how did you really, I mean, the first one you did, you managed to send a lot of emails and stuff to people that you knew directly. So the second one sort of picked up because I didn't find out about it from you directly. I found out about it indirectly. So how did you get more and more people to do it? Did they just find out about the first one and the second one and just sort of, went on from there?
Yeah, with the first one, I'm luckily the personal finance blogging community is an awesome community. There are a few forums that I'm in, so I was able to, to really get the message out there. And that's where I started, just to kind of get the numbers up. And then from the Roth IRA movement, I had folks that had their direct email addresses, so I was able to, just send out emails to them, and also had some media folks that I had emailed contact information from the Roth IRA movement. I was able to reach out to them as well. And then, with the sponsors, I just started calling around. I thought I would actually get some big insurance companies to take part, but apparently it was hard for them to comprehend what I was really trying to do. But luckily, the Life Foundation, they were in it from the beginning. They were a great organization to partner up with.
Now, your Roth IRA movement, did it exceed the expectations you set for it?
Oh yeah, no question. The Roth IRA movement, my initial goal was 50. I thought if I get 50 people, that's pretty outrageous.
Right.
And I had 50 people. I think I came up with the idea on a Tuesday, and I had almost 75 by the weekend. I mean, wow. It literally just kind of took off.
Now, what were the goals for the second one?
I was hoping to just knock it out of the park. I was hoping to get over 200, to be frank. So I fell shy of that. I mean, I think we're up to 159 or so right now. So I mean, it still could still get there. I think, with anything in life insurance, hard to write about. I've been really trying to crack the mommy blogger realm, trying to get more of them involved, and I had more participation this time, so hopefully the next one, maybe we can get that much more, that we can crack the 200.
Now, I've used a lot of your time today, and I know you have clients and things to deal with today, so I'm going to kind of come to the last couple of questions I have for you today. Now, this one I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you a question that I've started to ask all of my guests on the Financial Conflict Coach show. Who are the one or two people in your industry or in your life who have inspired you or taught you the most, specifically in your career?
Wow. So when I think about my career, I mean, I've learned from so many people. There's a financial advisor that hired me, that gave me my start as a junior broker, that I used to cold call for him and did all the grunt work. And, just learning how, he was able to build his book of business. But the one thing I really learned from him was, he makes a lot of money. He's been very successful at a very young age, but he also took care of his family, and he knew how to have fun. And just all the vacations that he took with his family. I mean, he's 40-some years old, and he just went on a Kid Rock cruise. And I mean, Kid Rock. I mean, rock, party rock star guy. And him and his wife went on this cruise. I mean, it's just like I'm not really a Kid Rock fan, but I'm still just envious the fact that this guy can go do this and have a good time, and just live life. So I've really just enjoyed learning from him. And, making sure that, yes, you got to work hard, but you also got to, take, for lack of a better phrase, you got to stop and smell the roses every once in a while and just appreciate what you've done.
Now, what about in your financial life? There's always someone that has influenced or inspired you one way or the other. Like in my family experience, I have several people who taught me what not to do, and those people jump to the front of my mind whenever I think about that. Is there anyone that had a positive or negative influence on your financial life?
Yeah, honestly, both love my parents to death. My father's been passed away for a few years now. My mom's still around. They were separated at a young age. I'm sorry, when I was a young age. But they both have really made some pretty bad financial decisions. And I wasn't really aware of that until I was almost in college, close to graduating. And it really awoken me to how I didn't want to live my life. And that's really, and a lot of that's kind of shared in that book, because I was down that path of having massive credit card debt and really just going nowhere. And, luckily, joining the National Guard was a huge help, but also just, finally waking up and realizing, like, why do you have $10,000 of credit card debt? I mean, what do you have to show for it? Absolutely nothing. So I think that's it wasn't the positive influence, but luckily I was able to see from their mistakes and how to not do that in my life, and also how to prevent others from following down those footsteps, via my blog and in other ways I can reach out to them.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Now, do you have any new project, other than the book, of course, any new projects or services or speaking engagements or anything you'd like to promote before we wrap up?
I'm also speaking at a financial planning association, like their national conference, but that's boring. They want me to talk about social media to financial advisors, so nothing really exciting about that. But I think stay tuned, because the first quarter next year, I'm thinking January, is the next movement. Still working out the details. I'm going to talk to some folks at FinCon about that, but stay tuned for that, because I think this is going to be, I think this one can get national recognition. That's my hope.
Well, I can't wait to be a part of it. Well, remember, you can learn more about Jeff and his services on his different websites. Now, his blog, again, goodfinancialsense.com. The website for his book is soldieroffinance.com, and his website for Alliance Wealth Management, LLC, is jeffrosefinancial.com. On Twitter, you can also find him there, jjeffrose. Now, if you have any questions or comments for me or Jeff about anything we discussed in today's episode, or if you have guest suggestions for future episodes of the Financial Conflict Coach Show, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. I also encourage you to sign up for my VIP list and watch other episodes of the Financial Conflict Coach Show on my website. You can find me there, financialconflictcoach.com. You can also find me on Twitter at moneyconflicts. Thanks for listening.